Hi, Farzin.
Hi, Elena. How are you today?
Great to see you and looking forward for our episode. Last time we spoke about disruptive cycle of the past, and today we will speak about the future. What is disruptive cycle of the future? Many people live in fear, worry, doubt, anxiety. So let's speak today how we can break through this cycle.
Sure. If you remember, we talked about this destructive cycle of the past, which had four components: shame, guilt, grief, and depression. And we went deep into those kind of things, how they affect our life. Now we are going to go to the other side of the coin, which is the future. And sometimes we have those kind of back and forth from past to the future, and that is the way that mind works. So it is jumping from past to the future and back and forth. So what is the destructive cycle of the future? Because there can be some good components about the future, but most of the time we are entangled into something that, based on whatever I wrote in my book, I call it destructive cycle of the future, which starts from fear and then goes to worry and then anxiety and then panic. So there are four components in there. So in order to go a little bit deep into that cycle, we have to become familiar with something called fight or flight response. So, do you know what fight or flight response is?
Yes, it is when people have that reaction, immediate reaction from coming from the brain when they feel danger and they think that something is going to happen and they won't fly. It means like run away or fight when they can be aggressive and start fighting with this.
Yeah, and sometimes there's another component in that too. They call it fight or flight or freeze. And sometimes we go to the freeze mode. We don't do anything.
Mhm.
So imagine that a deer in the wild is chased by a lion. What happens is that in order for that deer to be able to escape, all the energy should go into the legs. So the deer can jump and run fast in order to save their life. And sometimes we have an immediate threat that we have to react to it. So that is the mechanism that we have in our brain. It's like a chain reaction. So it starts with something called amygdala. Amygdala is the sensor in our brain. It senses the images, threats, or whatever. We get an image and we feel that there's a threat. And then it sends the signal to hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is the command center in our brain. And then based on the information, if the information is about something dangerous, that command center either sends the information to uh, something in our brain, which is sympathetic nervous system. There are two type of nervous system that we have: parasympathetic and sympathetic. So the difference is that parasympathetic is related to calmness and enjoying life and rest and digest and those kind of things. But sympathetic nervous system is about getting us to the point that we go through that reaction that we need. So sympathetic nervous system, if there is a threat, is activated and then sends the signal to adrenal gland. And it releases adrenaline and cortisol. And those hormones cause all the energy in our body to go to our legs and our hands. So We can either fight, stay and fight, or we can escape. So for a deer in the jungle, when that is activated, what happens is that the deer escapes and goes to a safe place. And after 15 minutes, everything backs to normal, gets back to normal. But for us as human, it's a different story because we analyze and mentalize everything. So when that fight or flight or freeze is activated, it takes us a long time to get out of it. How long? Maybe 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, but it takes long. So what happens during that 2, 3 hours? There are a few systems in our body that is not operating the way they should. One of them is digestion. Why? Because when you are in the fight, when you are running for your life, you don't need to pay attention to digestion.
Mm-hmm.
So an immune system.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares if you have cold or something like that? You have to save your life. So those kind of things, the energy is out during those 3 hours. The threat is gone, but the energy is out. So we are vulnerable to a lot of things, like even the virus and bacteria, those kind of simple things. We are vulnerable, we are wide open. The immune system is not operating. I give you an example. Have you ever seen or experienced that when we are under a sudden fear, sometimes we wet our pants? So why? Because that energy that is running that system is not there anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
that is the reason. You know, the exact same thing happens for our immune system, for our digestion, for a lot of other things, even for our rational thinking. In that in that moment, you cannot think rationally. Why? Because you have to immediately act based on the situation. So that is the best time if somebody wants to program your mind. So they impose those fears, and then you are in a fight or flight mode, and they just do whatever programming they want. So the other thing, the other aspect of that fight or flight system is that sometimes the threat is real. You are in the wild, and a wild animal comes and you have to escape for your life. You save your life with that. But sometimes the threat is not real. It is fake. How? You turn on the TV and there are some scenes of attacks or war or whatever. And then that can cause fight or flight system, or even the news. In the news, they say that there is something coming, like a whatever, the disease that is coming is imminent, everybody can get that and stuff. So we are exposed to those images, to those things. And then what happens is that when you are exposed to those things, the threat might not be real, but fight or flight gets activated. And we are useless for a couple of hours. Not only useless, vulnerable. We are vulnerable for a couple of hours. So it can be dangerous. So we have to be careful about those things. So it's a chain reaction. Starts with fear. And then we start worrying about things. And that worry goes to the anxiety. And it comes to the anxiety attack and stuff. And then we goes those to those panic attacks. So when it repeats itself, it becomes a pattern. So after a while, we might experience it once or twice or a few times, but after we just experience it over and over again, it becomes a pattern. Why? Because we carry those energies. Those energies get trapped in our body. For example, fear has a specific energy. And sometimes we face fear, we cannot mentalize it. We cannot, yeah, actually, we mentalize it. We just think about it, think about it, think about it. We cannot process it properly. So what happens is that it becomes a trapped emotion. So we carry the energy of fear. And then we are more vulnerable to that fear energy. So we are fearful. We become fearful. We become scared from small things because we are carrying that energy. The same thing goes with worry and anxiety and so on. So those are energies. If they get trapped in our body, we are carrying them. And as we discussed before, everybody is carrying more than 200 of those trapped emotions. And those trapped emotions are painting the picture for our life. So sometimes we have some tools and techniques that we use to deal with those situations, but those actually work like band-aids. But for the deep cleaning, we have to go to the root of those things that is causing those problems. Like fear, we experience it once and we carry it all the time wherever we go. So when situation arises, we just go to the fear mode and it gets triggered, and then it triggers fight or flight or freeze. We either do nothing or we are always anxious and we cannot rationally think. And so those kind of things are important to pay attention to. So whatever we expose ourselves, nowadays we are exposed to a lot of those things on a daily basis. Nowadays, they say that even based on the news, the TV, you turn on the TV and watch the news or listen to the news, we get triggered. And so one important thing is cut off the news as much as you can, because that can trigger that fight or flight system, and then it can bring you down for a couple of hours. Nobody wants to have their guard down for a couple of hours a day, several times. So in order to protect ourselves, we have to limit our exposure to those kind of things. So that is very important. It's a preventive mechanism. So that is that I suggest everybody do that, because nowadays it's a stressful life. You know, stress comes from different sources. Some of them are real and some of them are not real. I give you an example in my book. In one of the sections, I wrote about a young man. He wanted to go and find a job, but there was nothing available. So he tried and tried and tried. Finally, he got a job in a hospice. You know, the hospitals that they take care of people who are close to dying. So he went there and he was talking to people in there. They were close to the end of their life. So he was taking care of them, and he was young. He had a lot of energy. So he said that, what can I do in here to make it more valuable for myself? He said that those people have a lot of experience in life. Let me go and capture some of their experience. It might be valuable for me. So he went to those people and asked this question. Some of them were still able to think and talk. So he said, if you go back to your youth when you are young, what would you change from the perspective that you have right now in life with this kind of experience? Imagine that you go back to your old body where when you were young. What would you change? You know what most of them said? They said that we spend most of our life fearing about things that never happen. We would
Mm.
stop that for sure because we wasted a lot of time in there. So imagine having a life and wasting it just worrying about things that might never happen. And we are there all the time. We are worrying, we are thinking about worst case scenarios and things that can never happen. We are wasting our life. So it is an eye-opening concept for all of us. And it is automatic. It means that if we don't do anything about it, we stay in that situation.
Yes, yes. So maybe let's discuss a little bit more deeper here before you continue. So, as you say that this becomes a pattern and it becomes a home state because our body used to the state which we usually experience, and if we let worry to dominate, so this is what becomes our home state. And people who made worry their home state, it doesn't change when they move to different place or come in a good environment. It doesn't matter because their state even doesn't relate to outside. This is all inside. So if people used to worry, whatever environment you create for them, they will continue to worry. So because they will bring their old self to the new environment. Yes, so this is why it is so important to be conscious about your state, be conscious about your feelings, and not let worry to dominate and even take place. Because as you said that, yes, if there is some danger or some situation, of course, it is natural for us to react and find the solution how to save ourselves. But if it takes longer, it is not healthy. And some people, you mentioned here few hours, but what I see that some people live with that for years. Some people live with that for years, and you ask what, like, how are you? Ah, I have depression. Why you have depression? Something happened to me. When this happened 20 years ago. 20 years ago this happened, and you still live in that. So subconscious mind doesn't realize the difference between imagined and real. So if you continue thinking about what happened 20 years ago, your subconscious mind will make you feel as this happening now. So it means that you put your body into suffering mode all the time. And as you mentioned, that all the processes, digestion and other processes which in the immune system, yes. So everything is under that pressure. And if it is many for a long time, this is how diseases come. Yes, this is how diseases come, because when people are in that fear or worry or sorrow, or maybe hurt, or maybe they cannot forgive somebody, this is how they bring all this burden and carry in their body. And this is how the energy, because it cannot just go anywhere. Yes, energy doesn't go anywhere. It just can be transformed into something else, because nothing can be destroyed and nothing can be created. Everything already is created. Yes, so if people carry that negative emotions, it can transform to different diseases, yes, on a physical plane.
Exactly. So that is how we have those kind of filters. So you talked about a self-image that we just have in our subconscious mind regarding the past. Something happened to us in the past, and in order to get for that thing to get stuck in our subconscious mind in an active way, because it is in our subconscious mind anyways, but some of those pictures are active and some of them are less active in the background. So the ones that are active are related to those two components. One is image and the other one is feeling. When the feeling is attached to an image, it becomes active. And then because our subconscious mind is recording all the time, all the things that we see around us, all the things that we hear, is like a camera that is recording everything. But some of the things are more active in the front. Some of them are in the background. The things that are more active are related to our emotions, related to that picture. So we have something from the past that caused that depression, some failure or something like that. Somebody did something to us and we went to that depression. There's a feeling attached to that. And then what happens is that it affects our life. And our life is affected by that image because it's an active image and we are carrying it. So, and we react based on that active image. So, I was listening to somebody and she said that, she had that experiment. It's very interesting. She said that my brother was using those VR cameras, virtual reality. So they put those cameras and you go to a scene.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she said that I never was a fan of those, but I said maybe I can try once to see how it works. So she put the camera on. It's a
Mm-hmm.
VR camera, virtual reality. And she is in the scene. She is walking in the mountain and she's going and going and going. And all of a sudden, on top of the mountain, there is a cliff. And if she walks one step more, she's going to fall down from that cliff. It
Mm-hmm.
is virtual, it is not real. And she said that I knew it is not real, but I could not take that step. She said,
Mm-hmm.
even I tried hard to take that step on the ground. She is on the ground wearing that
Mm-hmm.
camera. But
And she
on the image that she is seeing, she is on top of the mountain and there is a cliff. And if she takes that step, she falls down. So she
Mhm.
said that I tried hard and hard and hard. I couldn't take that step. So that is how our mind works. If there is an image which is active, it, it causes things that is not even rational. We know that we are not going to fall down, we're on the ground, but we cannot take that step. So it's a very important concept if you think about it, how images can affect our life, positively or negatively, both.
Yes, and also from other perspective that when we connect images and feelings, this is this becomes the our energy. Yes, this is the energy how our body start sending these frequencies. It's like emitting these certain frequencies, and we become the magnet for the similar frequencies. That is why another reason why it is so dangerous to be in that state of fear, because this is very low frequency. Yes, this is very low energy. And people who dominantly stay in this range of the frequencies, they became magnet for like situations, like people, because they start attracting, we attract everything what we send out. So the same energy which we send out to universe, we become magnet, we attract. Yes, that's why when people become fearful or negative, it is more negative, more situation that cause even more fear come to them, and they become like in the loop that it is difficult to come out. Is because it is like different channels. Like if we look at radio, yes, like we get to a certain frequency, we can listen one program, and we cannot hear any other programs. In order to listen programs, the different programs, we have to change frequency, we have to change to different channel. Yes, and this is exactly in life. Like people who are happy, who are positive, who are grateful, they are in that light energy, and more good things come to them. Did you notice that? And
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is a downward spiral.
mhm,
So you start from something small, and then you imagine the worst case scenario, and then you go down and down and down, and then you hit the bottom. So what happens is that, we all know that sometimes we get into those kind of things. Now let's switch to the things that we can do when we are in that situation. So we talked about the problem. So what is the solution? I'm going to give you a couple of BandAid solutions. Why I say BandAid? Because I think all the tools and techniques that we use, they're all BandAid solutions. The deep solution is cleaning up the energy from inside. That is the root cause of those. And the deep cleaning is, in my view, the only way, the best way, not the only way, the best way to just deal with those. But for the band-aid solutions, like tools and techniques, there are some good band-aid solutions. One is focusing on gratitude, because
mhm,
gratitude is the antidote to fear and anxiety and so on. So you can either be in the fear or in the gratitude. You cannot be in both. So
mhm,
if you replace your fear with gratitude, then you're blocking the fear, because you cannot be in both situations at the same time. So it's a conscious process. You have to be conscious about your fear first. You have to notice that you are in the fear, worry, anxiety, and panic, and so on. And then when you are conscious, you consciously decide to take yourself to gratitude. So you close your eyes and start thinking about the good things that you have in life. And then when you are in that gratitude mode, there's no fear, there's no worry, there's no anxiety. Because it's either or. The second one was the state of love, pure love. When you love someone or something, the fear is not there. So it's either, so some people say, what is the opposite of love? And then other people answer it is hate or something like that. But in reality, the opposite of love is fear. So fear is opposite of love. So they are on the two sides of the spectrum. So if we fill ourselves with love, the fear cannot exist. It's like lights. When I'm in a dark room, I turn on the switch for the lights, and the light comes on, there is no darkness anymore. So love acts like that, like a light that dissolves all the darkness. So we have to know how to just take ourselves to that state, and it comes with practice. And the other one is breathing. The, the third tool that I want to suggest in here for people is breathing. Because breathing is very interesting. You know, we have some uh, automatic things in our body. For example, digestion is automatic. We don't think about digestion. It is in the background. It happens by itself. Heartbeats. Our heartbeat is automatic. And one of the things that are automatic is breathing. You're breathing when you're sleeping, you're breathing when you're out, you're in, all the time. But the only exception is breathing is something that you have control on as well. It is automatic and it is under your control as well. The other ones are just automatic. You cannot make your digestion faster, even if you try, because it's a process in the background. And it's a very complicated process as well. Imagine all the foods that we eat, the right amount of acid, the right amount of enzymes has to be there to just separate the good from the bad. And it is very complicated. It is not something that our rational mind has the capacity to deal with, because our subconscious mind has a million times more capacity and speed than our conscious mind. So it is dealing with it. And one of the things is breathing. Breathing is the only one from those automatic processes that we have the control on as well. So when we are under stress, under fear, we do shallow breathing. It is normal. So it is part of the process. But what if I change that breathing to deep breathing? Deep breathing is the situation that when I'm in the rest and digest, parasympathetic nervous system is active, and they call it rest and digest. So one of the signs is deep breathing. But when sympathetic nervous system is active, I'm in the shallow breathing mode. So if I change that to deep breathing, it changes my mood. But we have to be conscious. Remember, when we are in fight or flight mode, we are not that conscious because our prefrontal cortex is not there with full capacity. So we have to expand our consciousness to be able to recognize that we are in that trap. We are in that downward spiral. We are in danger. We are exposing ourselves to everything, all the virus, bacteria, and all the threats, all the things that people can throw at us, and we are vulnerable. Our guard is down. So we have to do something about it. What can we do? The BandAid solution, deep breathing. You start breathing deeply, and then you calm down. You come back to your normal mode. But it can happen again and again and again. So you have to use that BandAid again and again and again. But if you want deep clean, you have to just go down to the programming that we have in our subconscious mind and change those images and the emotions that are attached to those images. And that is where my expertise come to play. I do that a lot for people. So I connect to their subconscious mind and clean those images by neutralizing it. How do I neutralize it? I release the emotion that is attached to that image. Then that image doesn't dissolve. It goes to the background. It is not active anymore. So people can have different experiences. Some people don't do anything about it, and then they go to life. And most people waste their life, you know, they don't use their capacity because sometimes they even don't know what they can do in those situations. So they're reactive all the time. We are in the reaction mode all the time. If we don't do anything, that is our mind, which is set to survival. So it keeps us in a survival mode all the time. And survival mode means fight or flight. So that is the factory setting that we have. But some people realize, no, it is not the life that I want. I want to be more. I want to do more. So they start coming out of that automatic reactions. First, I suggest them to use those BandAid solutions, the techniques and tools. They are good. They help us, but they are not permanently changing us because we deal with those situations over and over again because we are carrying those energies. If they be really serious about themselves, I suggest them to do something more extensive, which is working from inside. And I can help people to just go through that process. So there are different stages that we are in life. Some of us are not much conscious. The things that you are doing is very important. You are bringing that light, bringing that consciousness to people. People listen to these kind of shows and the interviews that you have with different experts, and they bring the light to people. So people get exposed to the things that they didn't even know. And when you don't know, you don't know. You cannot do anything about it.
Mm.
But when you start knowing, then you are more conscious about those things. The threat that we have all the time. Every time that you turn on the TV, one of those images can trigger fight or flight.
Mm.
Remember how important that image is, that that person that I was talking about couldn't even step 1 foot forward, even on the ground, because the image that she was seeing was a cliff that she's falling down. So that is that important. And we can create those good images for ourselves when we are planning for our life consciously. We create an image and we attach some good feelings to that image and we put it in
Yes.
front of us.
Yes, exactly. This also answers the question why there is such a big gap between what people know and what people do. As you said in this example, she knew that she is safe, that she is on the ground. She knew consciously. Yes,
Yeah,
but she saw that image subconsciously and she knew that it is just a mask. Yes, it's just glasses. But
yeah.
still, subconscious is more powerful than
Mhm.
conscious. And there is such a big gap. People can know something, but it doesn't mean that they will do that. Yes, people
Exactly.
can go learn, read books, attend webinars, seminars, even listen to our show, but it doesn't mean that they learned something, they heard something, and they even know, yeah, this is true, this is what I have to do. But it doesn't mean that they will go and do something different because we are conditioned to act in a certain way. Yes, and our subconscious mind plays the major role. Like we are like 95% I would say is we have that habitual behavior. Like most of our behavior is habitual. That's why we can know something and agree and think it is totally right, but if we condition to do things different way, we will continue doing different way. That is why it doesn't matter how many books you read or how many webinars you went. If you don't reprogram subconscious mind, it will be the same. Yes, so it is not about getting information, but it is about creating the new habits. Yes, it is about raising awareness,
Mhm.
growing conscious. So become that conscious person and start seeing those patterns, because we can change them only when we identify them. Yes, and because people are mostly creatures of habit, they just go on autopilot, do the same and the same every day, most of things, and they're not aware, and that's why they cannot even change. But once we start being aware and identify those patterns, like every time I see this, I do that, or every time I hear that, I do that. Why I do that? So we have to start questioning why we react for something, why we just don't take pause and think how it's better to do in this situation. Because most of people, they just react based on their five senses. They hear information, they react. They see something, they react. And this is how they become like robots. Yes, like robots, complex of different programs. We just like, you press this button, it will give this answer, press this button, it will give that answer. Yes, so people mostly live not unconsciously. Yes, and that is so important to understand that how I want to live, who I want really to become, and start living from within and becoming that person, starting to be aware of thoughts, of feelings, of actions. Why these feelings, why these actions, why these thoughts? Because if we see people have the same thoughts again and again, and as you said, those patterns, they are the same. Yes, and they will give people the same results. And people might not like the results, and they continue do the same things.
Exactly. Yeah, there is something called emotional intelligence. Some people call it EQ. So the first aspect of that EQ is self-awareness. And so there are some tests that people can take and have a score about their EQ, and so do something about it. The self aspect is self-awareness. It's very important. And so I'm focusing a lot nowadays on um, improving people's emotional intelligence, one of them being self-awareness. And I've created a test for EQ based on the scientific research that is done uh, by a lot of people. So there are some information, and I've created a test so people can get their score based on that self-assessment quiz.
Amazing.
Yeah, there are 20 questions. And so they pick the questions. They don't need to write anything. They just pick the answer. And then it gives them a report on different aspects. And they can see where they can improve in those aspects. So it is accessible. People can go. It is not something that there's a yeah, there is a link which is joyfulfix.com/forward/EQ. So when people go to that link, they get access to that test. It's a free test that they can test themselves to see how they are doing with those aspects in life. And maybe in the next show, we go through those steps and we start from self-awareness, because that is important to know how we can become more aware about those emotions, about the things that is happening to us, not just the emotion. So maybe that would be a topic for our next discussion. But if
Mhm.
people are listening this far, they can take that free assessment quiz, which is joyfulfix.com/EQ. If they
Yeah,
go there,
we will mention this link in the description.
yeah, I created that for that specific aspect purpose, because we need some tools to assess ourselves, because sometimes it is hard to see how we are doing. We have to have something at hand. So it gives us a tool that we can see which aspect we're going to be working on. That is
Yes,
my
people,
perspective.
mhm. Yeah, people learn so much. They learn physics, mathematics, biology, chemistry, so many different subjects, but not many people really study themselves. Yes, and I think this is something really missing because the most important subject is you. Yes, like uh, who are you? Why you think so? Why you think this is you? Yes, like who you really are. Is this somebody told you that you are that person, or you made this person because you decided to be that person, and this is what you build to have that self-image which is aligned with your big goals. Yes, so there are so different questions which everyone, I think, should ask himself. And as you're here, people who listen to us now, it is a really good time because I believe that everything happens for the reason, and people who listen us, it means that this information is for you at the right time. So ask yourself these questions, and of course I would encourage everyone to do this quiz, yes, so you can join in our next episode and already know more about yourself, so you will start implementing things which we share based on that knowledge. So next episode will be self-awareness. Yes, self-awareness,
Yeah,
self-discovery, and self-consciousness. This is where everything has to start. All the changes start from self-awareness. Because if we don't know ourselves, if we don't understand why we do certain things and why we do things which we want to do and do things which we don't want to do, and when we don't understand that subconscious mind is so powerful, so it doesn't matter what you learn at the conscious level, it will continue producing results with how you are programmed. Yes, so in our episode, our goal is to help you to really to grow, to awake from this hypnotic state in which so many people are, and go through life doesn't don't understand why things happened. And this is important to understand that everything that happens according to the law of the cause of and effect, and we are the cause. So the only way to change results is to study yourself and learn how you can improve, how you can become more consciousness, have awareness, and reprogram those patterns which control most of your behavior.
exactly. Yeah, what we see on the outside is the effect of whatever that we have in the inside, which is the cause. So it's like a mirror. I call it the mirror of life. So whatever we see on the outside is a reflection that we what we have inside. So if we don't like the image in the mirror, there's no point to break that image, that mirror, because we are
Mm,
still
be
us.
angry, yeah, or be angry at the mirror, yeah, right?
Yeah,
And that
yeah. We
somebody
have to
else.
do something on the inside. So that is the deep roots of whatever we have. So the outside is health, wealth, relationship, and happiness, but the inside is all the things that is causing those to be the way that they are on the inside.
Yeah.
So when we focus on the inside, the reflection on the outside will change. But if we just focus on the outside, it's like breaking the mirror. It doesn't do anything. We are still us.
Yeah, because there will be another mirror which will show you the same image.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Farzin. It was amazing, amazing episode, and I would suggest and recommend everyone to listen it to sometimes because there was so many wisdom and so much wisdom and so many golden nuts. And I'm looking forward for our next episode, which will be about self-awareness and growth, yes, and self-consciousness.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
You're most welcome.